Showcase is there, and the topic would be method and madness, technology, evolution, and optimum adoption. For that, I would like to invite Squadron leader Prerana Chaturvedi, veteran military aviator, on the stage. So give it up for her, everyone. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Um, whatever we've been discussing for last 2 days in so many discussions, I'm trying to derive everybody's attention on how technology converges and how it evolves into a stage of adaptation, an easy adaptation, not only by a few, not only just by military, but also by masses. And that's when you'll be able to see the exponential drop in the cost curves. And that's where we'll be able to converge the exponential rise of technology and exponential drop of the cost curves. And this is a subject which I call popularly as the method in madness, because we all arrive, like Amit ji, we were discussing the same thing. प्रोडक्ट तो हम बनाते जा रहे हैं, इसको खरीदेगा कौन? खरीदने वाला कह रहा है मुझे तो चाहिए कुछ और था, at some other price. Am I willing to pay that price for that tech which I didn't want? And when you evolve that technology and produce it and make it available to the user, is my user going to be able to use it at all? Too many ifs, buts, when, how, and that's what I call the method in madness. And it's not that we were all just born yesterday. We've seen this madness over so many technological spheres that I just would like to highlight all of them one more time for all of us to be able to recall, and then draw a parallel from those lessons and learnings, draw a parallel and see where do we arrive, right? And as we keep talking about it, I think let's take one vertical at a time, very, very briefly. I don't want to stand between Chai and all of us. So, there we go. So, if we were to look at the innovation in the automobile industry, very simple. This is 1900. This is a picture of the Easter Cuff parade in New York City. It is all lined up with horses and horse carts. किसी को एक भी ऑटोमोबाइल दिख रहा है यहाँ पर? कार दिख रही है? है, एक है, एक है। अगर बहुत ध्यान से देखेंगे, एक छोटा सा रेड सर्कल बनाने की कोशिश करी मैंने, बहुत ध्यान से देखिए, एक कार दिख रही है यहाँ पर, 1900. And see how fast the technology evolves. 1900, if somebody would have said आप घोड़ा छोड़ करके कार चला लो, साइकिल चला लो, you would have said craziness. इतना सस्ते कॉस्ट में चल तो रहा है घोड़े में, एंड बड़ा रॉयल स्टाइल में आप जा रहे हैं, घोड़े में जा रहे हैं. एंड सी, I will recall and pay attention to the same location, Easter Cuff Parade, 13 years later. कोई भी एक घोड़ा गाड़ी दिख रही है? Yes, there is one. अगेन मैंने हाईलाइट करने की कोशिश करी है, शायद उतनी दिख नहीं रही. एक है amongst all automobile. So in the same state the way we are looking at drones, यूटिलिटी होगी, NHAI करेगा नहीं करेगा, लॉ में, लॉ इन्फोर्समेंट में हम यूज़ कर पाएंगे, मेडिवैक्स में यूज़ कर पाएंगे, डोर स्टेप डिलीवरी में कर पाएंगे. इट इज़ ऑल एन एवोल्यूशन फेज, एंड दैट एवोल्यूशन हैपन्स by a multiple factors all converging together. I'll again highlight another vertical. And experts, not just you and me, not just speculative, not just small time, not just big time OEMs, but the experts who are into judging the development and the forecast of an industry. Unka forecast of disruption in an industry. Let's see how do they look at it. We've all heard of the name, at least हम सब के बाल sufficiently सफ़ेद हैं. हम सब ने AT&T का नाम सुना है. My daughter hasn't heard of AT&T. She's 18-year-old. She hasn't heard AT&T क्या होता है. 1980, AT&T, they were the telecom giants. So they wanted to see industry का disruption कैसे होगा. So they said next 15 years स्मार्टफोन के यूजर्स कितने हो सकते हैं, how many could they be. So just in order to be able to evolve in the industry, they hired McKinsey not too long back, ancient history की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं हम, 1980, as far as back we can recall our school days or something. They hired McKinsey gave them a figure of 900,000 will be the number of smartphone users in next 15 years. What actually happened in next 15 years was the actual number of smartphone users was 109 million. So that estimate by experts was grossly out by 110%. 110%. That's how what we mean to say when we say the technological evolution, it grows an exponential curve, and when it meets the exponential curve of the lower cost of technology, wherever it congregates and matches together, that's where we see the magic happening and the boom. That's when we see that happening. Something like 1904, the Wright brothers, they started flying. And everybody said, this is the ultimate. उड़न खटोले के बाद एक यही कोई चीज़ आई दुनिया में जिसके साथ हमारा सब तर हो जाएंगे, हम सब के सब इस भवसागर से पार हो जाएंगे. दैट वाज द एपिटोम. इससे अच्छा कोई मशीन हो ही नहीं सकता. एंड डिड एनीवन बिलीव उस वक्त कि इसके अंदर 120 240 लोग बैठ करके कभी जाएंगे ट्रांस अटलांटिक फ्रॉम वन स्टेट टू द अदर? हु वुड वांट टू बिलीव एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम? And who would want to believe that this was the epitome? Few years later, you saw the helicopter come in. And people felt that, how many can you carry? 3, 4 people? When Sikorsky built their aircraft, when Igor Sikorsky invented the aircraft, the helicopter, how many would we be able to do it? And would you be able to put it to use? What will you do? So from the aircraft, we built the fighters, and we all kept on thinking, fighters. So if you were to fight, I'm looking at it from my military aviator's perspective. Fighters is the ultimate machine. Let's look at MiG-21s, 23s, 29s, MiG-30s, Su-30s. Let's pick it up from there. What are you going to do with a helicopter? It's for carrying missions. VIPs को आप ले जाइए. Did we ever think at that point of time that Osama bin Laden in 2012 is going to be picked up by Black Hawks? That is combat evacuation, combat elimination, not by fighters but by helicopters. Did we imagine when we invented that helicopter and we wanted to compare it one with the other? It was all possible because stealth was possible, because it was flying was possible, because there was an airway that was possible, there was a combat support system that was possible, and all the technologies congregated and aggregated in one position at one particular time. And since it was a defense application, cost was not a factor. But the moment we start looking at a commercial application, we have to look at the exponential cost curve as well. Where is it going to intersect with the technological evolution curve? Now, the moment we see aggregation कहाँ पर हो रहा है, let's say for example, the technology evolves, so you have a different business case. The moment it gets into a massive scale, that's a different business case. So you don't have to evolve on technology all the time. You also start evolving on the business cases. Let's say for example, 2007, you had beautiful smartphones and everything else is, and when the smartphones arrived, let's say AT&T didn't build one. Anybody still using Alcatel? Anybody still using Ericsson? Anybody still using BlackBerry? किसी के पास है आज? नहीं है. And who started building Blackberries? Who started building smartphones? iPhones, Google. They were not into the field of telecom at all. So what happened to the masters of telecom sector? What happened to Ericsson's, Nokia, AT&T? कहाँ गए ये सब? अचानक आईफोन कहाँ से आ गया वर्ल्ड के बेस्ट फ़ोन बनाने के लिए और मोस्ट पॉपुलर फ़ोन बनाने के लिए ये कहाँ से आ गया? Because you were so engrossed in your own thought, you never saw the disruption hitting you. You never saw that happening. You were banking on McKinsey to give you that technological cost curve and volume escalations, and where will you be able to strike the cost? iPhones came in and they hit the market by storm. Now, no, none of us are using Blackberries. My daughter hasn't even heard of AT&T. Me, another factor who was a hardcore believer of that Nokia brick user कि वो weapon के काम भी आएगा, किसी को फेंक के मार दीजिए तो वो भी काम आ जाएगा. I was such a hardcore believer in it. I didn't want to shift from there क्योंकि उससे आप लेफ्ट हैंड से फ्लाइंग करते करते भी ऑपरेट कर सकते थे. You could type a text and send, type a text and send, type a text and send, which you couldn't do in a QWERTY keypad. I don't think anybody has a QWERTY keypad phone also now. Everybody has a smartphone and everybody is using it. And what a lame excuse people started giving to each other that time. उसको आप कान पर लगाइए, टच हो जाता है तो वो कॉल डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाता है. How many of us have heard this already? Hasn't that happened in drones? यहाँ गिर जाएगा तो कैसे ऑपरेट होगा, उसके ऊपर गिर जाएगा, उसके लीगल कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज कौन हैंडल करेगा? ऑपरेटर हैंडल करेगा या OEM हैंडल करेगा या उसके पड़ोसी हैंडल करेंगे या जो उस टेरिटरी को देख रहा था वो हैंडल करेगा? हु इज़ गोइंग टू बी रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर इट? What are going to be the laws, and what are going to be the land of application? Where would you fight and contest that case? The moment we start looking at applications of a technology, multiple things will come to the fore, and when all of them start to congregate together, that's when we're going to see volumes hit the road. Something like we always had smartphones in 2007, 2009. We suddenly saw Uber. We suddenly saw Uber come in. But do we think Uber never thought of autonomous vehicle? सोचा होगा उन्होंने. जब 2009 में फर्स्ट क्लास ऊबर लॉन्च हो गया, एवरीबडी स्टार्टेड यूजिंग इट. व्हाई डिड दे नॉट थिंक ऑफ ऑटोनॉमस टैक्सी व्हीकल? उसके लिए टेस्ला का क्यों इंतज़ार किया उन्होंने? आई एम श्योर उन्होंने इंतज़ार नहीं किया टेस्ला का. दे डिडंट वांट टू वेट फॉर टेस्ला. देयर वी गो. सो what happened in 2012, somewhere there, after 3 years of Uber operations, when Uber was thinking of autonomous vehicles, cost of the LiDAR which had to go into that car was $7,000. $7,000 and loads of kgs. 1 year later, the cost of that LiDAR equipment dropped down to $1,000. 1 year later, it came down to 250. Later, 100. And then the next year they announced that the next LiDAR equipment is going to be $99 or lesser, and of a size which you can put it on your iPhone and use. मैं अभी तक नहीं समझ पाती हूँ कि आईफोन में उसको लाइडर इक्विपमेंट को लगा के क्या यूज़ करेंगे. बट आई एम श्योर दैट्स वेयर द टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट्स दे थॉट, and they developed it to such an extent, and the moment that happened, you suddenly saw Tesla autonomous vehicle, suddenly saw that coming in. And it's only the legal and the regulatory compliance congregation that will lead to seeing a massive scale of such an operation. Why I'm driving my talk on these subjects is, when we look at how technology and cost curves evaluated and came together, when they started building a consortium, that's when we see the technological usage expand. And that's exactly the phase we are in the drone industry. So this is the need, what we are all here together for, in the entire expo, what everybody is talking about, the built up of consortium of all coming together. It is not just one technology that is going to evolve or change the name of the game. It is not just one. Let's say in the case of Uber again, or let's say in the case of an autonomous vehicle running as a taxi or a share taxi. If you did not have the smartphone, would you be able to do it? उसका ऑटोमोबाइल से कोई रिश्ता नहीं है. If you did not have internet, would you be able to use an application like that? If you did not have a LiDAR, which was cost effective, would you be able to do an aggregate there? यूज़र तो तभी आएंगे जब उनको कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव होगा. लेट्स से इफ इट इज़ एन ऑटोनोमस व्हीकल एंड आई वर टू गो फ्रॉम हेयर टू गाजियाबाद, I get a price of 500 rupees or 700 rupees. He gives me a pop-up option. Should I pick up one more passenger from Dholakua? And I will give you a refund of 300 rupees. I'm more than happy. Please do it. Please have two more people coming in. I'm happy to pay 150 rupees. Why 350? And I'm sure we are all inching towards that phase with the evolution of technologies. So that is the point for us to develop, use, and use platforms of aggregation. Multiple people getting together, doing one job in different roles, getting together. Not just me, I, me, myself, but everyone together, and that is the game changer. So, another 1.5 minute of how we saw people coming together in the drone industry to train and get the skilled manpower.
जाबाज हम चले छूने आसमां चले अपनी तो बस यही उड़ान है बड़ी शान से चले अभिमान से चले अपनी तो बस यही पहचान है ये आसमां मिलती है ऊंचाइयों पे माना तन्हाई हिम्मतों का साथ है फिर क्या है ऊंचाई नाज है हमको हमारे जोश पर ऐसा सरहदें ऊंचाइयों तक हमने पहुंचाई ये आसमान
Let's all come together and claim the skies. Thank you very much.
Let's have a huge round of applause for her. That was a wonderful presentation.